excited to be here today. That's what I like to hear. So it's truly an honor and a privilege to stand here before you on such an important day for each and one of us. This day is proof of something that we have heard many times before, and that is that hard work does pay off. But I must admit that for me, it's a little more than that. It's not just seeing the fruits of my labor. It's a dream come true. When I was asked to speak here today, the first comment I heard was, "Don't make it generic." So I thought to myself, well, what does that exactly mean? And I went online and watched many commencement speeches. And although they were all great speakers, they all made one mistake. They didn't include themselves in their speech. And I don't mean that they forgot to mention something about themselves. I'm referring to the fact that they did not let their personality show through their speech. So I said to myself, well, what if I don't write a speech? And instantly part of me said, well, what if your mind goes blank in the middle of a sentence? What if you make a mistake? What if you have to go back and correct yourself because you didn't pronounce a word correctly? Which, by the way, I'm already at a disadvantage because of the fact that English is my second language. And then as all these what ifs and the word mistake kept running through my mind, I realized that life itself isn't a perfectly structured and organized speech. Life is all about taking risks. But the key is making sure that you have the skill set necessary to evaluate these risks and choose whichever decision you feel is best for yourself. And I know that there isn't a guide that tells us what exactly we should do. But I know one thing that we must definitely not be. And that is that we must not be afraid to make mistakes. Because I personally believe that we are who we are today, and we are where we are today because of our mistakes. I was born in the Dominican Republic and came here when I was 11 years old. And trying to fit into an entirely different culture has definitely been one of the toughest things I've ever had to do. And I know that some of you graduates have shared that with me. So you can all relate when I say that it's very difficult to try and get around when you can't communicate with anybody. I remember that, when I started school, at one point, me and my parents didn't even show up to the parent-teacher conferences. Not because we didn't care, not because we didn't want to, but simply because of the fact that we couldn't communicate. But if there's one thing that I've learned throughout my journey into becoming an American, it is that we must take advantage of all the opportunities that are presented to us. And that sometimes there aren't any opportunities, but we must create our own. And I remember that in 2011, I think it was 2011, while all my peers in high school were preparing for college, I was preparing to drop out of high school. So in the fall of that very same year, I decided to do something nobody in my family had ever dared to do before. That is to go to college. And I was kind of hesitant because in my time as a high school student, sometimes I did feel that I was just swept under the carpet. And there were times, I never really had anybody to guide me or mentor me. So I found it a little bit more difficult. And one day I just walked onto this campus, walked into the admissions office, and asked the question that has forever changed my life. And it's a rather simple question. It was, how do I enroll? But at the same time, that has by far been the most rewarding risk I've ever taken. If I had not taken that risk, not only would I not be standing here in front of you today, but I wouldn't have gotten to know and experience what true compassion is, what teamwork is. I would not have met the person who showed me that I shouldn't be afraid to follow my dreams. But most importantly, I wouldn't have met 3 amazing women that are responsible for making me realize my true leadership potential. So I would like to take a moment and thank these 3 amazing women. Thank you, President Lucille Jordan. Thank you, former Vice President of Student Affairs, Patricia Goodman. And thank you, Student Activity Coordinator, Amy Vaziftar. During my time at NCC, on top of working and learning from some amazing people, I also got the chance to help the community in many ways. Through the Rotaract Club, I had the opportunities to spend one of my spring breaks working at the Nashua Soup Kitchen. I also got the opportunity to go to Bermuda and do some community service. I also had the pleasure and chance of that through Student Senate, I was able to plan the first ever NCC Brave Run, along with some amazing people. And I have gotten the opportunity to be that mentor that I never had to many people. And I will still continue to be that mentor to those people that went through the same thing that I did. I will also continue my passion, I would pursue my passion in helping others through a year of service in AmeriCorps. And I will continue to pursue my bachelor's degree at Southern New Hampshire University in Justice Studies, with the hope that one day I can pursue my dream of going into federal law enforcement. And to think that all of this started that day that I walked into admissions and I asked, how do I enroll? As I conclude, I was first and foremost thank all my family and friends for being there when I needed help. And unfortunately, I will not leave you, not unfortunately, but I will not leave you with a quote from a famous actor, author, or philosopher. Not because I don't think that it's a bad thing to do, but I believe that I saw that it's one of the most common things done at a commencement speech. And the real reason why I am not giving you guys the quote is because I believe that we all have great things to say. So I don't think it's necessary for us to go and borrow someone else's words, because we are also tomorrow's great authors, actors, and philosophers. But before I go, I would like to leave you all with the two things that have always kept me motivated and moving forward. The first thing is that no matter how impossible or unlikely it seems, everything in life will eventually fall into place. And second is that when life puts you in that place where you believe that you can no longer move forward, just remember that there is always somebody in a worse situation than you are somewhere in the world. And if they can keep moving forward, then why can't we? So thank you.